was this?
You were looking at a highly intelligent, sentient life form.
The devil's haunting opens the door to hell. Something Beneath, Friday night at 9.
Good evening. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has clashed with opposition lawmakers over funding for his long-delayed Innovation and Technology Bureau. He attacked the Pan-Democrats today for blocking his plan and urged the public to speak out against those responsible for causing great loss to society. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
Speaking before his weekly cabinet meeting this morning, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying went on the offensive against opposition lawmakers. He complained that their filibustering in LegCo's Finance Committee was growing more serious and holding up funding approval for many policies involving people's livelihood. He said all his government is asking for is $35 million to set up its long-delayed Innovation and Technology Bureau, which the Pan-Democrats are blocking. He urged the public to speak out, saying each and every lawmaker responsible could be identified on live television for wasting taxpayers' money and causing great loss to society. Leung warned that if funding is not approved by the 14th of February deadline to include the item in the forthcoming budget, it will be like a baby dying in the womb. But there was no progress at all when the Finance Committee held an extra 2-hour session this morning to discuss the new bureau. Instead of talking about the actual proposal, lawmakers spent the time arguing over whether the government was right to withdraw 5 items from the committee's agenda to speed up approval for the bureau. Agricultural and fisheries sector lawmaker Stephen Ho blamed the Pan-Democrats for the last-minute withdrawal of a funding application to help his constituents. He complained that fishermen's interests had been used as a political tool and sacrificed in the battle between the government and opposition lawmakers. But the Civic Party's Kwok Ka-ki accused the government of hypocrisy, pointing out that 2 of the 5 items were for the development of IT education programs in schools. He asked why they were dropped if the government was truly concerned about the IT sector in pushing for the new bureau.
So they are actually telling a lot of lies. This government is actually without any conscience and without any trustworthy that the people of Hong Kong can rely on.
The meeting was adjourned after 2 hours at the request of unionist Lee Cheuk-yan. Commerce Minister Greg So, who overlooks the innovation and technology sector now, described the session as a complete waste of time.
This item has been raised by the sector, technology sector, for quite a few years already. Frankly, it has gone on too long.
Financial Services and Treasury Secretary Chan Ka-keung insisted the government has the right to rearrange the committee's agenda.
It's not uncommon at all for government to withdraw an item even under discussion. We've done it before, so nothing unusual about it.
But leading Pan-Democrats accused officials of using LegCo as a tool to execute its commands.
I think that the controversy right now is that the administration does not respect the Legislative Council's way of doing things, and they just very rudely, very violently interrupt. I think all of us should do our best to uphold the integrity of the Council.
The row reflects an even deeper divide between the government and Pan-Democrats, who are refusing to cooperate because of the stalemate over political reform.
Chief Secretary Carrie Lam says the government does not have a list of pan-democratic lawmakers it might be able to persuade to support the final package of political reform proposals. Lam attended a forum earlier tonight as part of the second round of public consultation on democratic reform. She needs to persuade 4 pan-democrats to change their minds about vetoing the package to get it passed. Lam told her audience that if the package is rejected, they should reflect their disappointment with their votes in the forthcoming District Council and LegCo elections. The MTRC's East Rail line was hit by a severe service disruption for 2 hours after a through train broke down at Tai Po Market Station this afternoon. Passengers at some stations were forced to wait for nearly half an hour at a time. This mobile phone footage was taken by an ATV reporter who experienced today's severe disruption firsthand. His early afternoon journey from Hongham to Taipo on the East Rail Line took a full hour, with the train stopping at every station in between for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Announcements explaining the delay and informing passengers about shuttle bus services were made only in Cantonese, no English and no Mandarin, throughout the crowded trip. The disruption was caused by a through train heading towards Guangzhou. It broke down with around 300 passengers on board, just as it was pulling into Taipo Market Station at around 2 p.m. A section of the train stretched back into the tunnel as it remained stuck on the track. MTR staff were quick to respond, but it took 2 hours to resume normal services. Due to ongoing construction work at 2 platforms, a single track had to be used for trains heading in and out of Taipo. That resulted in crippling delays along the line. Trains between Fotan and Taipo Market ran at 20-minute intervals, while frustrated passengers had to wait for up to 25 minutes for trains from Taipo Market to Lok Ma Chau. About an hour into the breakdown, the stricken through train was towed to its proper stopping position along the platform. Power had to be switched off, which meant there was no air conditioning on the train, and some passengers who felt unwell needed medical attention. By the time the through train was able to resume its journey, it was 4 p.m. The MTRC apologized for the major disruption, saying it was due to a system failure. Just recently, the MTRC reported that lengthy service disruptions had doubled last year and promised to invest $3 billion to improve its performance. More local news, starting with calls for an urgent LegCo meeting after the number of people killed in the current flu season topped 100. ATV's Alison Chan reports.
Severe flu has claimed the lives of 12 people over the past 24 hours. This takes the number of fatalities from the seasonal virus to 111 since the beginning of the year, prompting the lawmaker representing doctors to demand an emergency meeting in LegCo tomorrow so that some urgent questions can be raised.
Do we have sufficient wards, preparation, beds arrangement, ICU care arrangement, and also whether we have preparation like the banning of the school if there is any major outbreaks happening in school, particularly in the kindergarten and the child care center.
Kwok warned that public healthcare resources will be severely tested during the Lunar New Year. Pan-democratic lawmakers are continuing to lose favor with the public following last year's Occupy protests, according to the latest University of Hong Kong poll. LegCo President Zhang Yuxing has the list of the 10 lawmakers the public is most familiar with. He's followed by his pro-establishment colleagues Regina Ip and Tam Yu Chung. The next 7 places are filled by Pan-Democrats, with the Civic Party's Alan Leung at the top, but most of them saw their ratings fall or even hit a record low. According to the polls, the popularity of opposition lawmakers continues to fall after the 79-day protest, while the ratings of their pro-establishment colleagues appear to be recovering. Supporters of League of Social Democrats lawmaker Leung Kwok-kong accompanied him as he arrived at Eastern Court this morning for a pre-trial hearing. The radical legislator has been charged with 1 count of common assault. Leung is accused of slapping a woman in the face following a City Forum discussion at Victoria Park last year. Supporters of the woman also turned up in court because she was charged with disorderly conduct in a public place. Alison Chan, ATV News.
Overseas, Japan has launched an anti-terrorism task force in response to a threat by Islamic State militants. The extremist group, which said it killed 2 Japanese hostages, has declared war on Tokyo and its citizens. ATV's Bo Leung reports.
In a chilling video released on Sunday, Islamic State warned that it will target Japanese people wherever they are. Let the nightmare for Japan begin, said a knife-wielding man moments before the purported execution of journalist Kenji Goto, the 2nd Japanese hostage Islamic State said it beheaded in a week. The video states that all Japanese people are now targets, said Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga. Terrorism is a real and immediate threat to all of us now. As Japan mourned, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe vowed to seek a way that will allow the government to resort to force to rescue Japanese citizens held captive overseas. As a first step, an anti-terrorism task force was launched today. Security at airports, railway stations and other strategic locations has been tightened as a precaution. In the Jordanian capital Amman, a candlelight vigil was held to honor Goto and Haruna Yukawa, Islamic State's first Japanese victim. There had been hopes that Goto and a captured Jordanian pilot would be freed in exchange for an Iraqi woman held in Jordan for a deadly bomb attack. But before any deal could take place, Islamic State said it had beheaded Goto.
Sports now, and in football. The January transfer window has closed, but it was a tame affair this time. There was no last-minute rush to buy, and only 13 Premier League sales were completed on deadline day. ATV's An Cheng reports.
Chelsea were the biggest spenders on transfer day deadline, splurging $40 million on Colombian winger Juan Cuadrado. He was signed from Fiorentina in Italy and is expected to impress during the 4.5 years he has pledged to stay with the Londoners. Most of the money to acquire the Colombian came from the sale of German Andre Schürrle to Bundesliga side Wolfsburg. The winger was a key player in Germany's World Cup winning squad in Brazil last year, but he has struggled to secure a regular place at Stamford Bridge this season. Premier League clubs concluded 13 deals on deadline day, taking the total during the entire transfer window to 35. Outside England, former Premiership star Tim Cahill pulled off a major surprise by crossing continents, leaving the New York Red Bulls to join Shanghai Shenhua in the Chinese Super League. Although 35, Cahill showed that he's still in peak form as he helped Australia lift the Asian Cup by beating South Korea in Sydney last Saturday.
You know, I think it's exciting because to still be in demand and to have the offers that I've had is special, but this definitely will be something massive for me as a player on and off the park.
Cahill, who also played for Everton in England, added that he's attracted by the potential growth in China's football market.
Spare a thought for the daring droves who braved an icy morning in England to run, walk, and crawl in the world's toughest race. Here's An Cheng.
Off they go, 5,000 hardy souls determined to finish the tough guy event, billed as the most grueling race in the world. They defied the cold and damp on a winter day as they trudged through mud at Purton, near Birmingham in the English Midlands. Competitors from 37 countries shrugged off winter's biting embrace as they tackled the 13-kilometer course, swimming through muddy waters to the next stage. They had to conquer all sorts of barriers and obstacles to reach the finish line. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Despite the weather conditions, many dressed up for the event as they fought for personal and national glory. A former soldier inspired by military assault courses launched the annual event in 1987. Since then, the race has attracted an increasing number of contestants from all over the world. Whoa! They all had to sign a waiver that read, "It's my own silly fault for being here." Medics were kept busy attending to those in need. After nearly 1.5 hours, Briton Jonathan Albon emerged as winner, coming in 3 minutes ahead of his closest rival.
Yeah, it was good. Pretty fun. What's your technique? Go as quick as possible. I'll come back.
He was then whisked away for a medical checkup. One by one, the other runners, all muddy and tired, completed the tortuous course and were awarded medals before collecting thermal blankets to stave off the cold. But judging by this competitor's broad grin, it was all worth it, and there's next year's race to look forward to.
Finance news: Hong Kong stocks advanced today, gaining 70 points. The Hang Seng Index closed at 24,554 on turnover of $80.3 billion. Shares opened weak after U.S. data showed that consumer spending last month suffered its biggest decline in 6 years, while manufacturing growth slowed more than expected. But local sentiment improved as mainland markets ended a five-session losing streak. Let's take a look at markets overseas, starting in the U.S. The Dow Jones is up 175 points. The London FTSE gained 85 points. The Frankfurt DAX is up 78 points, and the Paris CAC is up 50 points. Now over to U.S. dollar cross rates. It's 1.14 to the euro, 1.51 to the pound sterling, and it's 117 Japanese yen to the U.S. dollar. Time to check your Mark 6 tickets. Tonight's winning numbers are 11, 34, 36, 43, 47, 49, and the extra number is 21. Finally, the weather forecast for the next few days. Sunny periods tomorrow with low visibility, and it will become cold at night. Temperatures will range from 15 to 19 degrees. Dry with sunny periods on Thursday, and it will be cold in the morning and at night. The mercury will drop further on Friday. Here's a look at the weather around the world. That's all the news for now. Thanks for watching ATV. I'm Wynna Wong. Good night.